So this one is called the QM emergency remote instruction checklist. So that's that one.
Okay.
And then the other one, that's the one we developed the last March. So like almost a year ago when this pandemic thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is last summer, a few months after the pandemic, and the folks have already started to teach remotely, but they want to, ensure the quality of their teaching is good. So we put together another list, and that is, we call it QM Bridge to Quality Course Design Guide. So it's really a design. It's a guide for course design.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So let me post that link also
Yes.
right here. And this one is called QM Bridge. And we have had thousands and thousands and thousands of people download because they did not have a lot of experience doing online teaching. So
Good. Yeah, I I gave us a session on course design.
mhm,
And I also gave them some resources on recent papers.
mhm.
But anything from QM, any references and material from QM would be great.
Yeah,
Uh,
we have a lot of resources that's open on our QM website. You do not have to be a QM member. They're free. They all come from the community, and
hmm
there's a lot of presentations,
hmm
webinars. It's all based on the experience from the QM community, right? So anything from accessibility to how to do assessments and how to make sure to achieve the learning outcomes,
Yeah.
how to establish your teaching presence, engage the
Mm.
students, all that thing.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Oh, power is out. Ahmed, we can still see you. You're fine. Thank you for joining us in the dark, from the dark.
Yes.
We have so much lights here that I want to push some lights over you,
Yeah,
over to you.
right.
Uh,
Oh,
يا دكتور بكري
أيوة.
انت من يا باك جراوند.
أنا من I did my undergraduate في جامعة خرطوم في civil engineering. لكن هسه
يو
بقيت
ار
بتاع
سيفل.
yes لكن هسه بقيت بتاع materials engineering.
materials engineering.
Materials
اوكي.
engineering, yes. I approached الدين بتاع الانجينيرينج انه نجي نعمل Department of Material Science and Engineering in the college. So
اوكي.
hopefully we will get that initiative going.
we hope
So
that برضه.
yes, قادسية انت في المعمار ولا في الهندسة؟
لا لا لا، انا في الاركتكشر.
في الاركتكشر. Okay, great.
انا في المعمار، ايوه.
Yes, كويس
آه.
جدا. Very good. So maybe we can start with the group that is here.
sure.
So I hope that you have watched the video of Yaping about how to ensure the quality of your online courses. So if you have any questions for her, Dr. Yaping has been really generous with us. She provided uh, a session for engineering last time. Uh, she is a senior academic director uh, in the Quality Matters. Quality Matters is an organization that has been working on online education for a long time. They actually kind of certify programs. They certify single courses. They can also certify programs. And now with the explosion of this, they've been really busy sharing their experience of to how to inform faculty and schools about putting out high quality online education. So we welcome Dr. Yaping,
Thank you.
and maybe Yaping, you can introduce yourself and the type of work you do at QM, and then we will start the Q&A.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor Beckley, for another opportunity. And as he introduced, my current position is a senior academic director, and I oversee member services and partnerships. And my focus is more on international. That means that outside the states, because of my background, my experience working with colleagues outside the US. And occasions like today, like this, I feel the most comfortable and I enjoy the most because even though my title does not say professor anymore, but I have always considered myself a teacher, and I have always been a teacher in my heart. I have, over the years, I have never left a school. Either I'm a student or a teaching assistant or a professor, and then I went back to college for teaching again, and then I work at the various institutions, both in China and in the US. So for the past 25 years, I have been in the US. And before that, I was actually a professor of English in Fudan University and Shanghai, China. That's a tier 1 research institutions. So at that time, I was already doing well as a professor, but in my heart, I just felt like, I want to go out a little bit more. I want to know more, and I can contribute more, to the education I want to learn. So I came to the US and I majored in education, and my that was back in 1995-ish, and I chose my major as instructional technology because at that time, folks in the US just start to use technology, start to use computer, and it's all Mac, and I use the typewriters in China. I have never touched a computer 25 years ago, right? So we were forced to use computers one way or the other. So I thought, well, here we are. We have been, teaching traditionally face-to-face, pencil and the paper and the notes, etc. And at that time, if you can use PowerPoint, then you are just on the cutting edge already, right? The PowerPoint is like, the thing 25 years ago. But then computer changed everything. So I thought, if computer is going to be used in education as in every part of our life, there has to be somebody who not only is a teacher, knows how to teach, but also has to know the theory and the practice of how to best use technology. So that to merge these two things so that we get the best of everything for our kids. That's our goal, right? So the kids grow up, and the other day, I have to tell you the story. The other day, well, not the other day, 2 years ago, my high school son want to do some volunteer work, and we have a very nice hospital nearby where we live. So he went there on the first day, and then he came back, and I asked her, how was your first day? Did you enjoy your volunteer work? And the thing that he told me was just, it's amazing. He said, I learned how to use the telephone.
Mm.
Telephone sits on the desk. My high school kid has never touched that because he always used a cell phone. So the phone is the cell phone. He has never ever touched the phone sitting on the desk until that day. And he said, I learned how to pick up the phone, how to dial the number, how to transfer somebody to the appropriate department. That was an accomplishment for him.
So if you don't mind me asking, what was he thinking the phone is? I mean,
But the phone is the cell phone. You know, he always thinking the phone is the cell phone.
So
You know, the hand
was it
holds
like was it like something sitting on the table like a toy or a ornament?
Right, but that was one of the first things that he were being trained on, how to transfer phone from, you know, people from outside the hospital call in, and then you listen and you transfer to different departments. So, so anyway, I'm sorry, but I have to just share this. So things like, you know, on my daily job, like occasions like this, you know, I get to share my experience and talk to you and listen to you is the best part of my job. So I really appreciate this opportunity again, Professor Bakery. So as in my presentation last time, I introduced, you know, in the QM, online education is not new. What is new is everybody has to do some kind of digital learning after the pandemic. That is new. You know, offering online courses, online programs in the US, Canada, Europe, you know, in some parts of the world are not a new thing. So QM is this kind of organization where, you know, we really do not own school, or we do not own students, we do not have any faculty, but we provide the service, we provide the standards that is valued and coming out of research by the community, and we provide the structures to support what institutions wants to do. So no matter where they are in their online education or digital learning journey, we can help them. We can guide them with our professional development, as well as our course review and program review and certification services to achieve their goals. So it's really very, if you think about it, you know, as faculty as you all are, you are the backbone of any program, any institution. You are the one who's teaching our students. Okay, so what QM does is everything we do, we call it peer-based, peer-reviewed. We depend on our faculty. We engage faculty, because if faculty are not on board, if you are not on board, if you do not trust something, or if you do not think something is going to work, then nothing is going to happen in the classroom, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's virtual like this, right? So we rely everything to you. And before I welcome your questions, I want to commend you. You know, the past year has been really challenging for all of us, everyone, every educator, every classroom, every country. So I commend you for what you have been doing and what you are trying to do. And you are on the right track. Because even if a year from today, if we get to do another conversation like this, hopefully things will be much better. But something is going to stay. Okay, you'll still go back to your classroom doing your face-to-face traditional teaching, because that's the best thing we can do. That's the most effective teaching, right? We are taught this way, and we want to teach our students face-to-face. That's not going to go away. But certain things that we are learning, we have been learning, we're going to keep it. Okay, we learn to use technology. We learn how to engage remotely, electronically, via Zoom, you know, however. These are going to stay, because you're not going to abandon those pedagogically sound practice. So, so in the future, there will be a new norm. There will be new standards for teaching. There will be new engagement even in face-to-face teaching. So I will stop here. It's kind of long
Okay.
and rambling.
Very good. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Uh, welcome. I see more people coming in.
Mhm.
But I would like to start with the question, Dr. Gao, that I also asked you last time.
Yeah, sure.
Uh, because one of the learning outcomes we have on this session is for the faculty to recognize the centrality of the learner in this new uh, paradigm. Basically, the question I asked you about when you had an image before COVID where the faculty is up there, teaching and so on, and then an image after COVID where you had the learner, the student in the center, and then there are all these things around the learner, and the faculty is just one element of that. So
Okay.
if you could just expand on that a little bit, please.
Yes. So that is, we traditionally call this as a paradigm shift, right? Because the day that we were educated, we have one professor, one teacher in the classroom. We all look up to that teacher, that professor. We take notes. We try to memorize everything, the professor said. Well, we are now in the digital age, and especially, the pandemic has pushed everybody into the other side. Either you like it or not, you had to try something, right? You had to teach somehow, somewhere. So the student learner or learning centered environment is a new paradigm. But you think about it, it is about time we shift into that paradigm. What is the purpose of education? Is to learn, is for our students to learn. Think about it. The purpose of the education as a whole, no matter where you are, at what level, from kindergarten to doctoral students, it doesn't matter, or in continuing education, in cooperative training. What's the purpose of education? It's for the students, for the learner to learn what they want to learn and what they're supposed to learn and what the course and program says they should be learning. So think about that for just a second.
Right.
The purpose of education is not to showcase the professor, I know so much. It doesn't matter how much the professor knows. It matters how much the students can learn from you, from the learning environment that you provide. Okay, or you work with the staff who provide all the technical support, the pedagogy support, the training, etc., etc. So if you think about that, then student-centered learning makes a lot of sense, because that's the bottom line. That is our sole purpose. As an educator, that's the sole purpose, is our students to learn. Whatever works, whatever can help our students to learn, whatever resources we create, we find, we develop for your course is for the students to learn. If this technology is not helping your students learn, don't use it. If this resource does not connect with students, does not make any sense to them, do not use it. If this thing is not related to your learning outcomes or learning objectives for your course, don't even try. Don't waste the time. You have a focus. Your focus is you are the main person, is to make sure your students learn what they're supposed to learn what they want to learn what you make sense to the students that they should be learning in this course, in these programs, in order to, become a really qualified and contributing citizen after they leave. So that's one. Just think about the purpose of education. The other side is you think about where we are in this day and age, digital world. Everything is digital. Banking, shopping, ordering your dinner, ordering lunch. You know, we do everything on our phone. We do everything on the computer. Why not education? If you say, well, you know, I'm an expert in this, sure, of course, you're all expert in architecture. Yeah, but if you do a Google search, there's so much information about architecture that the students can explore. And possibly there are a lot of new things happening in the past few years, decades, that maybe they are relatively new to yourself as well. So the other concept is, in this digital learning environment, every one of us is a lifelong learner. Okay, so students come into your university, come to your program, 4 years, they graduate. That does not mean their learning stop. That's the very beginning of their lifelong learning. So what is more important to you as an educator? What is more professionally satisfying to you? Is it that all my students get A and a B? Or is it years down the road, one, or I hope many of your students come back or email you or call you and tell you, thank you, professor, for what you did when I was your student. Because you said this, because you asked us to do this, now look where I am in my profession. You know, because I one thing I do truly trust, and this is from the bottom of my heart, that the teachers change lives. You know, teachers of all the people, parents and teachers. And as you can see, I'm a Chinese, and I come from a very traditional Chinese family, and I was actually the first a child in my entire family, entire big family, that's to go to college, you know. And of all the people that touched my life, you know, over the past few decades, the people I remember most, of course, you know, my mom, dad, etc., but my teachers in elementary, my teachers in middle school, my teachers in high school, my teachers in college. I remember them. I give credits to them. So as you are teaching your teachers, if down the road, years down the road, you know, you get a teacher, say, out of the blue, they call you, say, you know, thank you. That is the value of you as their professor. So we should do, not only right now we are teaching on a daily basis, you know, we want to ensure they achieve the learning outcomes in our class, but we can also model as a lifelong learner, because the digital environment need everybody to learn something new every day. It does not learning does not stop. If you stop, you're left behind. Okay, you are where you are, you're not progressing. So what a better way to model for your students, as you show them that you are a lifelong learner as well. Yes, you are the expert in the course you teach. You are a content, you know, your expertise is highly regarded, but you are actually, you know, getting your students interested in your field, but then you send them out of your way, out of your door, but they need to continue to learn in the field that you get them started. So in online environment, in the online class or digital learning environment, this is a perfect environment for you to showcase and model. If you have a project, or if you have a topic that's pretty new or controversial, or you know, people are talking about a lot, or if you see this is very potential, send your students to do research, you know, and make this topic meaningful to them. They go out, they research online, they bring back information to report. And this process, you know, you are really teaching students not only the content, the you know, the know-how, and this is, you know, the information, the facts, all that skills. You're also teaching them how to do research. You're also teaching them how to do teamwork. you're teaching them critical thinking, and most of all, you want to set the example of lifelong learner. So again, long answer. I'm
Yeah,
spabbering.
good, very good. Thank you, yeah. So we will open the floor for questions. If you have any questions for Dr. Yaping. Yes, Ahmed, I see you're raising your hand in the dark. You are muted, Ahmed. And you disappeared.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unmute yourself.
There we go.
As just say, I have two computers, so the Zoom version I'm installing here doesn't have the hand.
Oh, okay.
That's why I use my hand.
Okay.
That's good.
So
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I've got two questions to Professor Gao.
Okay.
The first one about QM, which if you can explain the statutory position of QM, is it like validating courses or accrediting courses like in ABIT or other accrediting institutions? The second thing is, if possible, you can sort of scan through all the problems that have faced the institutions that you validated as a QM body.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, the first question is about QM course and the program certification, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So as in my presentation the last time you watched the video is QM services is composed of these few major components. One is we have sets of standards to ensure the quality of your course design. And it's mostly about the course design, meaning you build a course based on the standards. So the course is very learner-centered and is aligned well to help students to achieve their outcomes, etc., etc. So the sets of standards are very important, and they are all research-based. They all come from the community. I mean, it's not just, thoughts from the QM staff member. Okay, it's all research based by the community. So that's that. So that's our theoretical foundation of the QM organization. And then based on the standards, we provide lots of professional development, and mostly for faculty. If you want to learn how to design your course, if you want to learn how to teach your course and teach online certainly right now, and how do you design your assessments to ensure the learning outcomes are achieved, etc., etc. So we offer, the other day we offer over 130 individual different professional development workshops. And then the other piece is we do course review and program certification. So course review is that once you have built an online course, you have taught it a couple of times, and you have made improvement because the course was built based on the standards, and then your institution said, well, let's do some benchmarking. How we are doing. Yes, we adopt the QM standards. Yes, we use it in our course design development, but how we are actually doing. So you can submit a course for QM to do a course review. Now, we are peer-based, meaning you are a professor. So the peer reviewers who are also professors like you in the community at the universities, but they have been QM trained, and they are very knowledgeable about the standards, and they also teach online themselves. So they will log in, and they will review your course with all the standards, and individually they will say, yes, this course meets the standards. This has not been met, needs improvement, and here's how to improve. So individual courses can be submitted to QM for QM review and a certification. And there's, certain criteria, of course. You have to achieve 85 points out of 100 points. And also the course has to meet all the 23 essential standards, etc., etc. So that's the course review and the course certification. Once the course is certified, then there is a mark, it's called a QM certification mark that you can use in your website, in your course catalogs to indicate to the students, to the community, to the stakeholders that your course is designed of quality. Beyond that, if an institution offers an online program, an online, accounting, online MBA, so we understand, of course, the curriculum is composed of those courses, right? 10 courses, 12 courses, 20 or 24 courses, etc. But an online program, in order for students to achieve this, master all the competencies of the online program level, the courses are not enough. You still have to have all the support, all the resources, and the faculty have to be really have some professional development, we're trained and supported, and also are the students achieve learning outcomes from the online program as well as they would if they would be in a face-to-face program. So the program review certification has 4 parts. The course design, the curriculum design, the program design is one piece, because that is the academic curriculum. That's the meat, right? And then you want to look at, how the faculty are being trained, being supported before, during, and after teaching. Okay, so we'll do some student survey, faculty survey. And then the third piece is how you're supporting students. In the U.S., traditionally, it's really the federal law that if students, even if the students, lives not far from the university, but if they are enrolled in the online program, the institution cannot require online students to come to campus in order to do certain things. So that really create a great need for student support, resources, libraries, tutors, proctors testing, registration, and in the U.S. there's also, students loan, so all kind of student services that you traditionally provide to the face-to-face students, you have to move them virtually online, provide to your online students. So that's the third piece of it. One is the courses, the program curriculum, the curriculum, and then the faculty support, and then the student support. And then the last but not the least is the outcome of the online program. You said you have a good online program, but are students learning and achieving as well as if they are enrolled in the face-to-face program? Does that answer your question? I mean, at least the first question, right? Can you say again what is the second part?
The second part, when you started ensuring the quality of the online, what were the problems that you faced at first from your side, from faculties or universities?
Okay.
Do you require like a certain format so they have to submit it to you? Do you check also the faculty environment, like the services and the utilities there? And I will add one final part is how much it costs to ask you to validate like a course in Africa, because I see in the map that you presented the last time that you have validated courses in I think in UAE or Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Okay, so that means you can actually travel there and see what they have.
No, QM's course design and QM review and the certification, we are done all virtually. So
Okay.
services is focused on online and digital learning. We do not do site visit for course review and of course certification, but we travel to engage, to attend a conference, to help them to launch a new initiative or a consortium, that kind of thing. But for course and the program review and the certification, we do not do site visit. Okay.
So do you also, if you validate or accredit a course somewhere in US or outside, do you have to come once again or to validate the course in like 5 years or 10 years?
Yes, that's a good question. Yes, we have just last year, I think we have passed 10,000 course review certification. That's mostly in the US, but we have quite some courses from the Middle East region and Asian, etc. The course certification mark is valid for 5 years.
5 years.
Because we understand, typically any institution, in particular higher education, they go through a curriculum review every few years. And in the US, 5 years is a very typical cycle, right? So as the curriculum modifies, changes, at the end of 5 years, you can do, if you still want to carry, be able to use that QM certification mark, because that's a symbol of quality, then you can do a re-review, recertification. So the fee will be lower and the process will be much faster because you only change a few things perhaps in the course. Okay.
Yeah,
now
well,
I want to go.
I've got only one thing I need to ask about. Is
okay.
The situation, for example, in developing countries is different from US. For example,
Sure.
the internet services, the power outages, and those things. Would those factors affect if you want to assess or review a course in Africa, for example, where those circumstances are real and they are going to be here for some time?
Yeah.
I could now access the internet, but maybe in 1 hour later, I cannot.
Right. So, okay, so that's a really good question. So QM's review and the certification is really mostly focused on course design.
Okay.
So think about this. Think about build a house or you build a car. Okay. So once they're built, QM wants to use the standards to review and see if everything has been built according to the standards. Now, if you do not have power, we cannot get to your, or if the car, for some reason run out of gas, we cannot get to your house, or we cannot go to the car, we can wait. Okay. But in your online teaching environment, if you out of the power and if you cannot access your LMS, if you use Moodle, you cannot access that, that will be an issue on your end as the professor, how you're going to teach the class today, how you're going to communicate that lack of power or the shortage of power temporary. That's not an issue about course design. We want to ensure that the course is well designed. So when you're ready, you welcome your students logging into the online environment. They know how to get started. They know how to submit the assignment, and they know, where to ask the professor for questions, etc., etc. So there are two different things. One is the course design, and one is you actually teaching the course. So we are focused, QM review certification is focused on the design.
Yeah,
is that helpful? Okay.
Yeah, that was great.
Okay. And do you want me to go back to your early question about what are the challenges?
Yeah, if you can mention few of them.
Sure. So this is, as I was mentioning earlier, online teaching in the US is not new, like at least 20 years, if not 25 years, right? So, but the pandemic pushed everybody to do some kind of online digital remote teaching, right? So as faculty over the past year, the question that I heard, two questions. One is, how do I do my assessment? How can I ensure that, my final exam is secure, because, this is the one that I have to use. I have to have a final that my students have to, I want to make sure that, students do not cheat, or I want to ensure my academic integrity. So that is the number one question from faculty. The second question from faculty is always, if in face-to-face, I can see students don't understand that, I can ask them questions, they can ask me questions, we get, question resolved right away. But, I'm not meeting my students, I'm not seeing them, and how do I engage my students? So engagement, students' engagement, that is the number two, if not the same as the number one questions in the remote environment online education. And that both of this, assessment as well as engagement, because they're so important, if you design your course well, you can really, help with this situation. You can help prevent students cheating. You can help ensure academic integrity. And if you design your assessment, if you design your learning activities in such a way, in a purposeful way, in a meaningful way, and you can engage the students, so everything has to be done purposefully. But purposefully, you use the standards, because the standards has been researched. It comes from the best practice of the community. Professors, online instructors like you in the field that teach accounting, math, science, biology, or nursing, education, architecture, certainly, right? So these are all best practice. If you design your learning activity, design your assessment, and in such a way that you engage students. Back to the first question, and this is probably one of the most important questions, pretty much the same as the first one I asked. What is the purpose of education, right? So we all agree the purpose of education is for our students to learn. It's not to show how much I know, about my field. It's how much my students learn from me and from the education learning environment that I provide. So the question here is, what's the purpose of assessment? And then you will say, of course, just to make sure my students are learning what they're supposed to learn, make sure they meet the learning outcomes. Good. So why would you wait until midterm? Why would you wait until the end of the term to do just one midterm and one final review, if your goal is to make sure my students are learning? Why should we wait? Especially in the online environment, if you're not seeing your students, if you're not getting the input you need, you want to assess, you want to create learning activities that engage them every day. You want to do a little assessment, a quick quiz, self-assessment every week. This way, you're not only, engage your students. Okay, there is a quiz on Thursday night, Thursday evening. You'd better read those and do those in order, because they will be in the quiz or in the assessment, in the learning activity you have to learn. So you want to engage them. If there's a purpose, the students will do it. Okay, students, teachers, we are all the same. Something has to be meaningful. Something has to be designed purposefully in the continuum of the curriculum in order for students to learn. So two sides. If you do assessments, however small that is, every week, then not only where students are, and if everybody get 2 of those questions wrong, these are tough. So week 2, you want to re-emphasize, you want to give more examples, you want to provide more opportunities to practice those 2 things. And on the other hand, the students will feel more comfortable. Okay, I've covered this week. Oh, I've got 85. So I'm doing good. I'm not doing bad, you know? And then moving to week 2, they are more confident themselves as well. So continuous weekly learning activities, some kind of assessment, not only help you, but help your students. Okay, know exactly where you are. Then when the midtime comes or when the final end comes, if you still want to do final exam, if you truly believe you need that, you can still have your final exam, but do not put 50% of your final grade on the final exam. That is not right. And that is not fair to students either. You want to reward them for their hard work, for the diligent work they put from day one, from first week. So the composition of your each student's final grade should be composed of, each week they can achieve 5% of their final grade, if not more. Okay, so that way, by the end of the term, if they do everything good, like my son, who's in high school, if he does well every week, by the last week, his final exam can be waived. The teacher said, no, you're doing good. You do not need to do your final exam. So that's happy for both ends, and because the professor is confident, the students have been progressing really well. And the students is confident and they're very motivated. If I do everything well every week, then I do not have to do the final, because the final is very stressful for every student, no matter how good they are. And then the question you ask yourself is that, if you're only asking the question of how can I prevent my students from cheating? And, if you are asking yourself just that question, you are missing the more important part of that question. And that is, how do I ensure my students are learning every day, every week? So we don't wait until the end of the term to find out, big surprise, many students do not learn it. They do not get it, So, but anyway, that's a long answer again. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
There is a couple of people raising their hands.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you see that on the screen, Yaping?
Yes, I see Dr. Salah Ozma and Dr. Yusuf Hameda.
Great, yes. So how about we start with Dr. Salah Osman?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I hear you well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yaping, for this very interesting video and discussion now with Dr. Ahmed Abdullah. I think there is also a paradigm shift in the process in the education system from students being as recipients to students be as somehow a researcher. I think we can feel this type of paradigm shift. That might entail that we as teachers, we have to teach students the methodology of research so early from the second year or something like that, because I think in the online learning and teaching, the students might need the research methodology and the ethics and these things more earlier. Yeah, that is thing. Then, by the way, I searched for the standards, the MQ standards in the attachments and appendices in the website, in our platform, but I didn't find them. Even in the 5 links you have provided, I didn't find them. If kindly you can provide or launch them in the platform, we'll be thankful. The standards, there is a slide in the presentation summarizing, but there is no flat sheet for that.
Okay. Okay, so let me answer your second question, the easiest part first. So if you're looking for the standards, I can send you in the chat just the link for the one-page standards. Okay, you know, this is a QM's intellectual property, so you can review and you can reference, etc. But this is the only standards. So 42 standards for higher education, so that would apply to your courses. But as I showed in my previous PowerPoint, each standard comes with a lot of annotations, and I can show you here. I have a hard copy handy here, and the example that I like to use all the time is standard 2.1. So the standard is very simple. It says, you know, the course learning objectives or outcomes that needs to be measurable. So what does that mean really? So here you can see columns and the pages of examples, illustrations, you know, explanations, etc.
Yeah.
This version is only for member institutions because that's the only way we can provide protect QM intellectual property. The PDF that I just shared in the chat, that's just list the entire set of standards, but with no annotation, with no explanations, etc. You know, you can take a look, and everything really. If you're a teacher, you read this and everything makes sense. And even if you are not going to teach online entirely in the future after the pandemic, a lot of those standards really apply to your courses anyway, because learning objectives, the assessment, the content, the resource you provide, the learning activities, the support, everything need to be aligned. That's just common sense, right? So, so yeah, have this handy. If you need to print out a copy, you know, you just for yourself reference, etc. But if the whole institution, I would really, really welcome University of Khartoum sometime down the road in the future can become the first QM member institution, because it established your leadership, okay, in quality digital learning. In the future, we're not going to say, you know, face-to-face or online learning. It's all learning in the digital environment. Okay,
yeah,
so yeah. Okay, so your first part of the question is really very relevant to what we were talking about earlier. There was a paradigm shift, and that's not just on the part of the professor, but also students. It's all about student-centered. It's all about learning-centered environment. Whatever you do, you know, the focus is on the learning. So you as a professor, you are the content expert, you are the sage on the stage, certainly as far as content is concerned, because you are the expert. That's why you're teaching, right? But on the other hand, what we want to model, we want to take on additional responsibility. It's not just you are passing your knowledge here to your students. You want to guide the journey of your students to become a lifelong learning, lifelong learner as they, you know, go into the society, you know, start a job, etc. So the best way to do it is you provide learning opportunities while you have them in your class. You design team project, you send them out to do research, you know, find some things, you know, and come back to share with all their peers, all their classmates, including you. And that way you're learning together. And two heads is always better than one, as we would say. And if you have 20 students, 30 students, 40 students, if we all go out and learn and we bring the best together, then our learning just, you know, it's so efficient, right? Instead of one person, you know, does everything. Everybody is learning, everybody is contributing. So that's also related to a concept, and that's not a new concept either. It's called learning community. Every class that you're teaching is a learning community, and you are the expert, you're the professor, but you are also the facilitator of learning. You support and you help them to achieve their, you know, desired learning outcomes. Okay.
Okay, great. If I may just come in, thank you so much, Yaping. I know you promised to give us 1 hour of your time, and it is 1 hour now.
Sure,
And
sure, that's fine.
uh,
That's fine.
and we also have a commitment. Dr. Abdul Munem is going to continue with the group on the workshop about Moodle and the use of Moodle.
Mhm.
So I have Yusuf Hamida. I think we're going to stop here, but if you
just one small question.
Okay, go ahead.
okay,
Yes,
go
yes.
ahead.
Go ahead, Yusuf.
I'm asking about the cost to certify with you in a course. How much is that? And do you have to certify all the courses of the program, or just you can do course by course? How much is it? And what about the language? If the language course is not English, do you have assessors for that? Thank you.
Okay, so the language we most of our courses certified are in English, but we certify courses in other language as well: Chinese, Arabic, Spanish, French, whatever. And the reason is because the reviewers are not QM staff. I speak Chinese, right? But not every staff. So the reviews are professors like you in the community. And we have so many professors who are bilingual and trilingual. Okay, so they're QM trained and they are well qualified to review courses in other languages. How much it costs is if your institution is a QM member institution and you would qualify for that half price QM basic membership. And that is the $875 for the entire university. All your faculty and staff are covered. You can use QM resources standards, and that is an annual fee of $875 every year. If you are a member, one course, if you submit one course for QM review certification, the fee is $1,000. And the reason is that because the reviewers are faculties like you in the community, a QM has to hire them and pay each reviewers $200, $150, $250 in order to help review. We compensate for their time. It's not a lot of pay, but each review has one master review who's the chair of the review team and 2 other peer reviews. So if we pay each of them $250, that's $750 out of the $1,000. So QM staff manage the process, and we need to, make a little bit revenue in order to keep the process going. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Is that helpful? Okay.
Yes, very good.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Yaping.
Okay.
If you want to have any goodbye remarks, please go ahead, and then we will continue with Dr. Abdul Munem.
Okay, again, I want to take this opportunity again to thank Dr. Beckley and everybody else for providing this opportunity. And I would love to connect with you again in the future because, as I said, this is the best part of my job. And I want to take the time, thank you, every one of you, continue doing what you have been doing. And there's a lot of resources out there that, we can share, so you don't really have to start from scratch. So thank you again, and enjoy rest of the program. Okay, thank you.
Wonderful.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Yaping. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks.
Great. Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Sorry to take a lot of your time, Dr. Abdul Munem.
No, it's all right.
Okay, great.